Greetings all, Dr. X here. Welcome back. All right, so we're going to take care of a petty cash example today. So for this petty cash assignment, we're going to do some journal entries. Here's what the instruction says. On March 1st, 2024, a check was written in the amount of $200 to establish a petty cash fund. During March, the following vouchers were written for cash removed from the petty cash drawer. So we are going to look at these accounts, see what was debited, and make some entries in our journal for them. So here's what the instructions for the assignment are. Based on the petty cash information, you're going to A, prepare a journal entry to establish the petty cash fund. That comes from this instruction here, the instruction that you were given here. And then for B, the journal entry to replenish petty cash fund, and that is based on the information here in the vouchers. So there's a couple of things I'd like to do to prepare for my journal entries. One, for this assignment, I'm going to go ahead and just put on the side for my own information the names of the accounts that we're going to debit for this. So office supplies, let's put that in the supply expense. A withdrawal by the owner should come out of owner's equity, but we're going to call it owner's draw. That's how we're enter it. Lunch with a client, we're going to call that an entertainment expense. Postage, let's call that postage expense. A donation to a scholarship fund, that's going to be a charitable donation. So let's just call it charitable donation. And then cell phone repair. Now we can either call this a repair expense or we can credit it to the phone for a phone expense. I'm going to say this is going to be part of a phone expense. Office supplies, let's call that supply expense. And lunch with a client, again, that is entertainment expense. Now, for those of you who are using this, remember this is just an example. In your book or on your online program, it may have a different name. For example, for phone expense, instead of phone expense, it may say repair expense. All right, so remember, I'm just giving an example here for you. All right, so now we've gotten that done. We got them named, so I know what I'm going to put in the descriptions here. Here, it's asking me to do two things. First, it wants me to establish a petty cash fund with the information contained here. So I'm just going to put a little A over here to remind me that I'm doing two things. I'm going to do A and B to use this as source information for my entries starting at part B. All right, so for part A, it's asking me to use this information. About $200 was given in order to set up the account. So we're going to do $200 here on debit and $200 on credit. Now remember, whenever you're doing one side, the other side has to add up to the same amount. So for this first one, the date we're going to use is March 1st, 3/1. And then we are going to type in, on the debit side, we're setting up petty cash. So that goes on the debit side. And what we're using to pay for it is cash. I know it said check. It's a check that we used from our cash account just so that we have the record. And then we'll enter an explanation. This is just an explanation of what we just did and why we did it. All right. So now let's go to B to move that up. Okay, so now moving B up. And we're going to start it on the next line. Now, here's the only date. I know it gave you date information here. You're going to ignore all of that. And the date you're going to use is the end of March, which is March 31st. Now, why are you doing that? Well, the only time you're going to go through and do entries on this is to close out the account for the month. And so we're going to use the first day that we put in the money. We're going to go ahead and put that as the first date we entered, and in this case, it was March 1st. The next date we're going to enter is the end of the month because this is how we're going to reconcile the rest of the account. And then at that point, you're going to start entering this information. So on the description. So the expenses that we had were supply expense. We also had an owner's draw. We had an entertainment expense, postage expense. We made a charitable donation. Let's do a phone expense. So now what we're going to do is add what those expenses are. So in this case, it's this one plus this one. So both of those are a supply expense. We add both of those. For owner's draw, there was only one of those. For entertainment expense, again, there were 2 lunch with the clients. So we're going to add those together and make them one entry. There was one entry for postage, one entry for a charitable donation, which was the scholarship fund, one entry for the phone repair expense, and that was it for all of those expenses. And now what we're going to do is, how did we pay for it? How do we reimburse that? Well, we're going to give cash as the reimbursement for it. That's going to be our credit. And to get the amount of our credit, what we're going to do is we're going to use our formulas in Excel to add up everything here for the March 31st entry on the expense side. So the amount of cash we have to give back, put into our account, is $177, and that is to replenish the petty cash fund. Okay, we put our explanation in, and that takes care of that. And that will take care of this assignment. Now, if you have questions about anything that I've covered today in this petty cash reimbursement, establishment of the account, as well as reimbursement, let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and have a terrific day.